Welcome to the Board Wrap-Up Show. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, and every month it's our visit with the Superintendent of Ponca City Public Schools, Shelley Arrett. And today we have a very special guest filling in for Superintendent Arrett, who has another engagement happening right now. And we have the Executive Director of Operations for Ponca City Public Schools, Brett Smith, with us. And Brett, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much.
It's the Board Wrap-Up Show, and of course you're there at the Board of Education meeting this past Monday, and this is an opportunity for you to really get an understanding of exactly what takes place and what happens at the board meetings. It is your school district, and as you watch this, you're going to be informed. And Brett, it started off, and I love it that you always put the Employee of the Month presentation at the start. It just really starts the board meeting off on a very positive note. Can you tell us about this?
Oh, it really does. You know, we have a lot of folks that come in and support those employees of the month and our friends of education, and they really do enjoy listening to them and the presentation that's made by either the principal or their supervisors. So each month we'll have a certified employee of the month, a support employee of the month, and then a friend of education.
All right, very good.
So Heather Smith, she is a math teacher at West Middle School, was our certified employee of the month. And her principal, Trent Murner, he gave that presentation to her that night, and everybody enjoyed listening to that. Mm-hmm. Our support employee of the month was Sally Tubbs. And Sally works with our special needs folks at the high school, and she's a job coach. So job coaches is basically what that is. She coaches those kids to go out into the world and get a job and be responsible and kind of be on their own.
Yeah.
And she does a wonderful job. She's been doing that a long time.
It's amazing work.
We really appreciate her.
Yeah.
And Evans and Associates, they garnered the Friend of Education. Now, Friend of Education can be a person or an entity. Evans and Associates is a pie partner for Lincoln. And so they received that award from Lincoln, and Liz Hargraves presented that award to them, and it was a real nice award. Evans and Associates have done a lot of things for the school. I don't believe this is the first time they've received the Friend of Education Award,
right? Because
they just continue to support us very well, and we do appreciate them so much. One of the biggest things they do for Lincoln over there is they built their walking track, and they help them maintain that. So there's a lot of good things that they do.
Yeah.
They'll bring Christmas gifts to the kids, or supply a bicycle so they can have a drawing for the kids who have perfect attendance. Give them a little incentive. So it's really nice.
That is really cool. So after that presentation, of course, student council officers from Ponca City High School really excited to get an opportunity to make a presentation to the Board of Education, and tell us about that presentation.
Our student council, they've been in existence for a long time. I understand since the 1960s.
Wow.
Paul Ingersoll, he was the assistant principal at the high school for many, many years. Very well respected and admired, and still is, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
He was their first sponsor, and I think he even gathered an award, the very first award for being an outstanding sponsor for the Ponca City School Po High Student Council. So they wanted to come into the board and to let them know what they do and some of their accomplishments. There were 3 of those officers of the Student Council that came in, and they presented an award. I believe it was the Oklahoma Association Gold Chapter Award.
Wow.
And they gave that to their principal, Thad Dilbeck. And so this is something I think that they have achieved on several occasions in the past. I think for the last 3 years straight and so forth. So our student council does a good job. Wonderful kids. We enjoyed listening to them.
Oh, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Well, the board took a recess during the meeting for a public hearing, which is necessary to do. And tell us about this public hearing.
Chris Littlecook is in charge of our Native American students in Title VII. And he brings in information to the board annually as part of the requirement because we receive federal funds. Impact aid is given to each school district from the federal government. It's usually slow in coming. It usually takes 2 or 3 years to get everything in.
Right.
But he gives information to the board on participation in programs, extracurricular activities, and so forth for our Native American students. He gave a percentage of the Native American students within our district, and then gave the board information on participation in programs, and those two line up very well. So our Native American students are participating, they're excelling, they're doing what they need to do in our school district. And so he gave a brief information about that one, and then told us about the impact aid, which impact aid is funds that are given to the school districts by the federal government to offset the lack of taxes that we do not get from federal land, federal Indian land. So anybody that lives on federal Indian land, they don't pay taxes. They receive a percentage of that money through the federal government, and then they give that back to us. But that is decreasing each year, just like all the money at the federal government level, or even the state government.
Right.
It's decreasing every year, so it's not helping out the school districts very much anymore.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, this is the board wrap-up show, and every month we sit down with Superintendent of Ponca City Public Schools, Shelley Arrett, and in for Superintendent Arrett today, the Executive Director of Operations, Ponca City Public Schools, Brett Smith. And Brett, there were a lot of things on the agenda for this December Board of Education meeting. And one of the things, kind of fun, something you look forward to, you hear about the academic progress of some of the elementary schools. A couple of principals came in and spoke with the board. Tell us, this is exciting because things are working, and programs and different curriculums and different styles and teaching styles are really seem to be clicking very well with students.
You know, our board is very actively involved and concerned about the academic success of every student in Ponca City schools, and they stay engaged with this. Shelley Arrett, actually it started with Dr. Pennington, and Shelley Arrett has continued this because she is great when we're involved with schools and curriculum. I mean, that's her forte. And so bringing in principals each month to give the board information on what successes they're having and maybe some of the pitfalls even, and then what they do to correct them and those progresses. So Liz Hargraves, the elementary principal at Lincoln, and Lori Cox, the Garfield elementary principal, came and gave a presentation on their academic successes. Part of the struggle is testing, and we've been talking about testing for many years, how kids are evaluated on one test in one day. And I think as a state and as a school district, we're trying to get away from that, and I think it's working. But we have a norm reference test that kids take, and then there's a state test. Now the state test now is a little bit more difficult, so those cut scores are a whole lot different. So it kind of is a little disheartening whenever you see what the state level does to a kid in versus what we've been doing before, and they're all nationally normed tests, so all very valid. But the scores are different.
Yeah.
It will challenge our students, it'll challenge our teachers and our principals in order to get those, and these two principals are real passionate about their kids and the successes that they need to make in the classroom. Right. So they gave that report to the board and gave them an idea of where they are, where they want to be, and how they're going to get there. So it was a good presentation.
Good. Well, as always, every month with the Ponca City Board of Education, there's a lot of business to take care of, and there was a lot of business, especially when it comes to construction projects, and this is where Brett Smith really gets hands-on, being the executive director of operations. This is your business. A lot of construction happening. So tell us about this, please.
I have a lot of hats and I do a lot of things, but construction, like you say, that's really my big business.
You get excited with it.
I love it. I love it. And, we've got so many projects going on right now.
Yeah.
Our two construction managers, Kyler Construction Group and Rick Scott Construction, have assisted us in all of those projects over the last several years and continue to do so. And by law, we have to renew that contract each year. So those were two of the items that were on the agenda, to renew both of those construction management groups, their contract with us. And coupled with that would be our architects, Lewis Associate Architects. We didn't renew their contract this month. We will make sure that happens. Because they help us each and every year for all these contracts as well. So we did the CM contracts with those two folks, and then we also had a couple projects that bid. A Kyler Construction Group. They negotiated and submitted bids for subcontract work over at West Middle School. Now that's something we've been needed to do for a long time over there, and probably this hasn't been on anybody's radar so much because we've done all this work at the athletic complex at the high school, and then the concert hall. Right. So those are real big ticket items.
Sure.
But West Middle School, we haven't done anything to those restrooms in years.
Wow.
Almost since the beginning, just very, very few things.
Right.
The flooring needs to be redone, so their contract is doing just that. We're replacing the flooring in the entire school. Yeah. We are retouching every bathroom and redoing those to bring those up to standard. And then we are bringing the counselors' offices that are on the north side of the building, away from really all the action, bringing them up to the administration center. Oh. So we're going to build those offices, and that way they're all coupled in the same area. Right. Their old offices, we don't have any restrooms on the other end of that campus either, so that's what the old offices are going to become.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
And for staff as well as students.
Well, these are needs that, just driving by West, unless you have a student attending West, unless you've attended events at West, you wouldn't even know these improvements need to be made. But Brett, you're very aware, the staff and the folks that work at West are aware, and they've got to be excited about these changes coming. Now, I got to ask you, kind of putting you on the spot here, but when is this something like over the next summer when this will happen, or when will this activity start?
Schools are so hard on contractors because we have a 2.5 month window when kids aren't there.
Right.
Students. So, can you get this job done in 2.5 months?
Right.
That's a challenge.
Right.
This will not happen.
Okay. All right.
It's a 9-month project.
I see.
We hope they get it done a little bit sooner. So they'll be working while students and staff are there.
Okay.
They can build those offices, which is outside the building.
Sure.
Take care of that while students and staff are there. In the summertime, they're going to have to hit it hard to get all those restrooms and stuff
Everything
done.
finished. Yeah.
So it's challenging. Kyler Construction Group's doing that one. They had a challenge last year with the HVAC systems over at East and had to do it in that 3-month time.
Boy, they did, yeah.
And they did.
They handled it.
They
certainly did. What about some other construction projects?
Rick Scott Construction also bid the new football dressing room.
Okay.
And they've started construction over there too. So they gave us the guaranteed maximum price. That's not saying that something doesn't come up, unforeseen, that price can raise or lower. Right. But in part of their process, they have to give us a guaranteed maximum price based on what we know right now. And so they broke ground yesterday. Matter of fact, I believe we've got a newspaper picture of the Board of Education that did the groundbreaking.
Absolutely.
And they started peeling up asphalt last night. Yeah. So football dressing room is under construction.
That's exciting.
We are excited about that one.
Yeah. Well, as you see these construction projects happening, of course, if you attended opening night recently at Robson Fieldhouse, maybe that was your first opportunity that you've had to see the new upgrades at Robson Fieldhouse, and upgrades and different construction projects happening district-wide. And Brett, it is a lot of activity to keep track of. And there's even more on this list.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I've always been a sports guy. I wrestled through high school and through college and played a little football and some baseball and so forth. But the most exciting project that I have right now is that concert hall.
Oh yeah.
That is so neat. Now you can see it. We got the big bones up in the air right now, so you can see the size.
I like the way you put that. The big bones. The big bones are up.
Yeah, we got some small bones coming later when you get the studs up.
Right.
But you'll be able to. There's a lot of steel in that project.
Yeah.
But the science behind that project and how it has to be built, and not only just to. And you're a theater kind of a guy anyway, so you understand that you got to keep the sound inside this box whenever you're performing, but you also have to keep the sounds outside from coming in.
Right.
So that science has just been fascinating. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, ever since they started putting up, when they put up the elevator shaft.
Yes.
Then a lot of folks started noticing then. It's like, okay, they've got the crane, they've got the elevator shaft, this building's coming together. Is it still on target for spring?
Mm-hmm. It's still on target for August of 2018.
Okay, August. Okay.
Most all of these projects are targeted to be done by then. There'll be a few odds and ends that will not be. But we should finish all those projects. We had $37 million in bond issue money.
Yeah.
Now, some of that went to technology, some to the classroom materials and those kinds of things. So around 27 million is what we're doing in construction projects.
Yeah.
and it's just going like wildfire. But we have accelerated all that, so all three. It takes about 3 years to finish all those projects instead of the 6 that we actually could have been allowed.
Yeah, and you know, you hear us discussing these different projects and these different constructions and these bond issues that were passed, voted on by you, perhaps,
Absolutely.
and the Ponca City Public Schools certainly thank you for that. And of course, it all comes down to the kids and the students.
Absolutely.
And improving their experience. So,
Yes.
as you started to wrap up the board meeting, what was the last few items the board took care of?
Well, there's a parcel of land that is over by the Addicts School, Addicts Association.
Okay.
And little did I know, we own a little parcel of land in between the Addicts School and the city property. And it really is the area that has there's some basketball courts and tennis courts right there.
Really?
I didn't know we still owned that.
Yeah.
But the city did some research. They've been taking care of the tennis courts,
Sure.
doing all those things over there, and they would like to have to do some grants in order to do some more work. Well, they can't do that if they don't own it.
Right.
And they found out that they didn't own it, and we do. So as a governmental entity, which the
Right.
schools are and the cities are, we are able by law to give them that property.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's what the board did last night. They just went ahead and did the final action and gave that to the city. And the city will have to officially accept it at their next commission meeting.
Wow.
But this will allow them to put some money into it and do it better. And to be honest with you, we don't need that property.
Yeah, and you say it's just small.
It's just a small,
piece.
just a small piece. So
Interesting.
it'll be good for the community as well as for the city.
Were you able to do the research and find out how far does that go back? How is it something that's just years, decades,
We started.
decades old?
Yes, it is really.
Yeah, yeah.
We did. When all those buildings, consolidated, and
Sure.
and we brought the students into the Ponca City School District, that kind of went by the wayside. I don't remember exactly those
Right,
dates.
right,
We're
right.
doing a little research to find out, but I
Right.
don't have that information.
It is fascinating.
It is.
It is very fascinating. The Executive Director of Operations for Ponca City Public Schools, our special guest on this edition of the Board Wrap-Up Show. It's our monthly visit with the Superintendent of Ponca City Public Schools, Shelley Arrett. She had another engagement today, so we've enjoyed having Brett Smith. Thank you so much. A very thorough explanation of
You're
the
welcome.
meeting. That's what it's all about, so you can know better and be informed about what's happening with Ponca City Public Schools. And a lot of exciting things are happening as we get ready for the holiday break. And
Yeah.
and Brett, school will be out soon, and the kids are going to be out until the first part of January.
Yeah, I don't believe they come back until January the 3rd. We come
Yeah.
back a day early, and so we can kind of get geared up and ready for them again. I think the students are excited, but I think the staff are excited as well.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Board Wrap-Up Show for the Executive Director of Operations, Ponca City Public Schools, Brett Smith. I'm Sean Anderson. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back again next month right here.